Alright guys, well, as exciting as the 3224 Elite is, I think there's something even more exciting, at least to me personally, that is going to change things even more for not only the Apex family, but for the entire mobile staging market.
Yeah.
This is something that I believe is truly near and dear to our dear friend Paul Cosell here. Paul, why don't you tell everybody what you have been dreaming of for the last decade?
That's pretty accurate. Is dreaming. I geek out about ROI, right? The return on the investment. I geek out about numbers and the details and how just the market as a whole is, not just our product, but other people's product. Just trying to strengthen everything and kind of see where we're at. So it was probably about 2013, 2014. I just started keeping data, keeping track of what all the stages, anyone I could talk to, anyone I could find, what everyone's product was getting on the market, what the rental rates were, what the capacities were, what kind of shows they were doing, and I just started keeping track of the data. I had this massive Excel spreadsheet of all the information I could find. And just as the industry was changing, I was trying to see if all the products were changing with the industry. Were they meeting the needs as the sound system changed size and weight? The lighting rigs changed, from 120K par rigs to LEDs, but maybe moving light drifts, maybe 12, all the different things. And then came video walls, and man, it just turned everything upside down. And what we noticed is not everybody was keeping up with the Joneses on what the needs of video walls were. And we kind of answered that with some of our big stages, and we tried doing kits on some of our small stages, but I just felt my gut was telling me that there was this massive gap in the industry. And it was not only by feature set of what we needed to meet what video walls and lighting rigs and PA were doing, but also for our customers. It's like if you take a customer who started off with a 2016 and their business grew and their clients festival grew, and then they got a 2420 and that grew, and then we didn't have the 2424 at the time, so they grew to a 3224, and they're going and they're rocking with the 3224, and maybe they got some kits, and all of a sudden they're like, my client's growing, but they're growing from we'll just say a $7,000 or $8,000 festival, but they needed more. But they didn't have, again, this is at the time, we're talking 2014, 15, 16, they didn't have, $25,000 for, 4240, or even more for one of the bigger stages. They're like, wait, how can I go from $7,000 or $8,000 up to, $20,000? I don't have that. There's just too big of a gap. And I thought, there's got to be a way, kind of like the movie Moneyball. And I started just beating up Jay, starting at about 2017. Hey, look at this data. And I remember sitting in the office with Jay and with Jeff and with Todd going, guys, I have the data. Look at this. This is actually really important. There's a hole in the market. We've got to do something in the 40-foot platform. We've got to do something that if we just follow the numbers like Moneyball, it's got to be able to hold this much weight. It's got to be able to be pulled by something that we're going to talk about in a minute based on capabilities. It's got to be able to do all these things, but it's got to be at a price point. So we're making a Moneyball stage. And everybody looked at me and said, that's a great idea. We're kind of in the middle of building, these big stages. We can't do that right now. I'm like, you're not listening to me. You got to do this. So it was like 2 or 3 years. I was just, Jay. And he's like, I'm not answering your call, Paul. I'm not answering. And then COVID hit. And we got out of COVID, and I was losing my mind. I'm like, Jay, we're missing the boat here. Coming out of COVID, people don't have money. Clients don't have money for Gen 3s. They don't have money for 5040, 4240, but they still want more than 3224. My gut was right. We have to do it. And finally, a mobile stage conference a couple years ago, we finally finish up Gen 3s, and Jay calls me and says, Paul, I think we're ready to do it. And I about lost it. I was like, finally? I was so excited. I'm like, okay, let's start getting the napkins out and start getting to work. So I'm ridiculously excited about this because, it's one of those things where your gut's talking to you for so long because you saw it, you analyzed the market, you kept track of the data. It wasn't just what you wanted, it's what you saw the industry needed, not just for feature set, but for our owners. Like, I wanted to see our owners go from all the products we have from their first stage all the way up to a 32, grow to the next size, and then it was a much smaller jump, and will be a much smaller jump, to go from the 4232 hopefully up to a Gen 3. So that's why I'm really stoked about it, and I know everybody else is going to talk about some of these details. So I think it fills the market on price point, on what people are going to end up paying for the product between a 3224 and a 4240. It's going to fill a gap in the rental market where you have a max out 3224, even a 3224 Elite before you get to a 4240 Gen 3. And there's no other 40-foot stage in the market that can hold this much weight for a video wall and a lighting rig and a PA and do everything we want to do in this feature set and get pulled by a pickup.
In 2017-18, somewhere in that time frame, Todd, the owner of Apex, made the commitment to build a new building. Okay, up to that, it's not like Apex wouldn't build larger stages. We just didn't have the capacity.
Yeah.
The 3224 was such a hit; it was constantly back order, constant. I mean, we built as many as we could. Couldn't shut that production line down. Todd made the commitment to build the new building. Right, 40,000 square feet, big tall ceiling, overhead crane, all this stuff. So that gave me finally the bandwidth, or what we say, green light, to work on the Gen 3 project, which had just been kind of sitting there waiting till the capacity. I mean, I could design it, but what was the point? We had no room to build it. Once the Gen 3 stage got launched and got done and all that, I took a breath and I said, Paul's right. That's next. And I'm sorry, Paul. COVID is one of that cost you a year.
Yeah.
Right there, because everything obviously stalled for a while. But we built the new building, and now because of the success of the Gen 3, now we're having to build even another whole other duplicate of that building for capacity. We now have this option, so I'm having fun. You said I wouldn't take your call. Humor, I get all that. It's just something he's been pushing for a while. Thomas, how do you feel as an owner of all different sizes about the gap? Talk to me about that.
It's been very hard because having the 2420, the 2424, the 3224, the Elite is going to be amazing. But the next gap, everybody's like, well, I need the next stage. Well, to give them the next stage was a 4240. That's not 8 more feet. That's almost 4 times the space, and at least triple the rental cost. And most clients can't do that.
Yeah.
So by coming in with the Elite, and we've tried all the kits where we've extended the video bays on the 32, and I call it the 32 Extreme. Now we're moving to the Elite, so we're answering all these. But to finally come in with a 4232 is that gap between the 32 and the Gen 3 series.
Yeah.
Not everybody can afford the Gen 3 series. And even with the Gen 3 series, we have the basic, we have the extended, we have the beast. Apex is allowing us to now grow from a 2016 all the way through.
Yeah.
So what we're here today, we're really here to announce and explain trim heights, capacities, and all the different things on why this stage is so important, and that they need to come and see us at LDI or Mobile Stage Conference and learn all the tricks and how am I going to tow it and how Apex listened.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thomas, I think we also need to tell our guys, let's bring your clients, right, guys? These promoters for the next year, so that they know what they can get, who they can go for. Bring your clients, right? Let's have discussions about that kind of stuff, because that's really where we want to be at. So, like you said, let's go to the nuts and bolts. So let's talk about nuts and bolts. Like, real quick, I'm going to start off with the trim height. 23 foot 6 inches. That's from the deck to the rig point, guys. Deck to the rig point. So, Jay, you've been really instrumental in this, and I think this is what's on one of your babies too. What is kind of the roof capacity?
It's basically, at this point, we don't get final figures until it goes through, engineering, which it's in process. It's I can tell you it's at least 48,000. It's probably, if you take in some of the side points and things like that, it will approach 60 probably by the time we get it all wrapped up and get the engineering stamps.
Good night. Can you ever think we were going to get that kind of capacity, like just 10 years ago on a stage this size?
I did. There was a moment. There was a moment with the twin extrusion beams on the Gen 3. Became the thing of the Gen 3.
Yeah.
Todd, the owner of the factory, stood there and looked at it at the trade show when we debuted that, and he said, you've pretty much maxed out what you can do on a 53-foot beam that folds underneath there and blah, 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 until we figure out how to extrude titanium. He goes, I don't know how we're going to get any more. And we're using all that same technology, those extrusions, those dies that we own, right? And it's like, but we're now in a shorter run. This and that. No, I'm not surprised.
That's cool.
It's
cool.
the Gen 3 beam system.
Yeah.
We talk about the technology, but keep in mind, this still has the flex grid technology that we have in the big roofs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That 1 foot by 1 foot, which is why the clients need to show up, and it's why we need to bring, the tour managers and the guys like, hey, this is what you can hang in the roof.
Yeah, there's no dead zones. Like in hydraulic stages, that's always been a thing, is that from your intermediate beam on the big stages with the slide outs or whatever, and then to the middle of the trailer, there's always that dead zone.
Yeah.
And none of the apex stages now have that from the elite up.
Yeah.
Right. This stage is set up to where you can get a hang point within 1 foot in 1 foot increments anywhere.
And what's been your guys' experience on the road with big tours when their LDs and VDs come in and go, we could rig there? What have they said to you?
Speaking of the rig there, right?
Yeah.
That's always like, wow, right? So, someone that grew up under Jay, right? He would yell at us about center point loads. You never put a center point load. You never do center motors. I mean, and so in my brain, never do a center, because that's right now. Yeah, you can go ahead and put a center motor there. No big deal.
Well, the capacities were so far.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about in this new series of stages, we're talking about doubling and tripling the weight capacities of what we as an industry, all industry wide.
Yeah.
And compared to some of the things that are on the market, we're quadrupling.
So we're
the weight
talking about,
capacities.
we're really talking about
Put away in the
these
center. I don't care anymore.
So what's the number?
Back then it mattered.
What's the number? Tell us what's the number on that upstage beam.
The upstage beam on the 4232 is going to come in probably, I'm saying between 9,000 and 10,000 pounds. But I didn't, when I say, right now I did the math and being very conservative, it came in at 48. I'm telling you it's going to be around 60. The upstage beam will easily make 65 to 7,500 pounds, no questions. But I can't answer that until engineers come back with their stamp.
65 to 7,500?
At least. That's,
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's super conservative.
So what-
just estimate.
I mean,
today's-
just so everybody gets some concept of that, what's the biggest size wall you've put up on some of the bigger stages? Or here, let's go. The walls that you've been told, no, that's too big, what have they weighed?
We've been told no at 4,500 pounds.
So essentially, there's
Well,
pretty much no wall.
okay,
For this
Can't
size,
hang.
this size of stage, right, in the other markets, you'd be lucky to put up a 16 by 9 wall.
Yeah.
So we're talking one that has reinforced grid. Obviously, you can do the small lighter ones, right? But we're talking one that is actually outdoors. You got the pixel count.
Yep.
And it's actually. Go ahead, Parker.
Unless you're hanging steel video panels, you are going to run out of space before you run out of
Wait,
capacity.
and
Okay,
hang
that-
lighting rig?
No, Parker just hit it.
Yeah.
This is actually the target point. Okay, we're designing these stages, and the 32 Elite does this. The Gen 3s do this. Okay, basically, you hang a wall that's like wall-to-wall carpeting, the same size as the back of the stage, height, width, and everything. Fill it, and still be able to hang your 3,000 pound, GT lighting truss full right in front of it.
Yeah.
Okay, our stages will all do that. You build a video wall that fills that back hole, you can still put a light truss back there.
That's incredible.
We're good. We're going to be good.
This is going to rock the world. I mean, this is fantastic. So what are the capacities we have?
Okay, so real quick, kind of going back to one thing I would like to add is, right now people go, well, why do I need that much, right? Like we're talking about this capacity. Why do I need that much? I don't need that much. I think the reality is we've been building stages in the past to meet the need of the day, right?
That's a good
We're
point.
building a stage that meets the need of tomorrow.
That's actually a really good point.
Like,
Yeah.
Okay, you're right. I don't need that much weight. I'm not going to hang a video wall the entire length. But
It's part of it. The other part of it is to sleep at night. Let me be honest with you, okay? If I design a stage that has that kind of capacity, I'm not dealing with all these rigging issues on every weekend. We have 12 stages at our shop, a stage
Sure.
for running all over. Do you know how many phone calls and rigging problems? And it's like, I don't worry about it. We got it. Go hang your damn video wall. It's fine.
And this
You
stage,
know what I mean?
and this stage is
And
going to have the
that-
the load calculator as well, right?
When I get to it,
Yeah. All right. All right. That's the goal, though.
Yeah.
We'll get there. Okay.
But to actually answer your question, right? So we're talking, I believe in this particular stage, we're going to be at 6,000 pounds on our slide outs. Okay. Unless you.
No,
Okay, you good?
on the slide out beams, which, by the way, the distance, here, they can cut to this diagram real quick. You can see here the slide out beam on these is going to be right in the 20-foot range of slide out. It'd be 21 and a half, 22 effective length to the tower from right there where the tower will be. It's not shown in this. Trim height 23.7, tip to tip, which is this is a big deal. Your tip to tip ability on this thing for bannering and display, 86 feet. Right? Okay. When you build a stage like this, that slide out beam is all dependent upon the aircraft cable. That's going to be your load limiting factor. We're going to be using 1/2 inch cable on that, which has a working load of like 65 or 6,700, I think it was. And of course, it's aircraft cables. That's like a 10-to-1 safety margin, whatever. So right now, I'm comfortably saying, yeah, it'll hit 6,000. It very well could be 6,700 because it'll be the turnbuckle and the cable that will be the limiting factor. But yeah, that kind of gives everybody a quick glimpse of what it is.
So if somebody
like a comparison, right? So if you're to answer your question, so the size of wall that I could say that we would put on it, and it would be a 16-foot wide roughly by 22, 24 foot tall, and still have weight for outfills.
That's incredible. So even if you do fill up that slide out with video, and you might have a little room on the end for an outfill. Say you fill it up, we can still put 4,000 pounds on an out front PA beam.
That is correct. So with that PA that you're referring to, the beam, it is rated at 4,000 pounds. Also good to note is it's 5 feet long, right? That's from your your front point, allowing you to get a nice J curve on your boxes, right? So most of your boxes nowadays are front to back point, and if you're trying to hit that bottom, that crowd there, 10 feet, 15 in front of there, you're going to want a good J.
Yeah.
This gives you the ability to make that J.
So no problem doing a 2-motor hang on this thing at all.
No.
This is incredible. So what other capabilities do you want to talk about? So you've got your, we've talked about the flex grid. We've talked about that we can rig within any square foot. What kind of weight capacities on those spanners and sub-spanners?
In Apex terminology, a spanner is a beam that is part of the roof. This one will fold out on a hinge, the same as the Gen 3 technology. Anything that you have to take, from the floor or your other truck or whatever and bolt in is a sub-spanner. By using that combination, you can get a point anywhere. Basically, it's set up so that any point you want, right, is going to have a 2,000 pound, right? Pretty much, right? It's all the math is done so that we aren't going to give you a point that's 1,237 pounds, because then what we want as operators or as manufacturers, either one, is if every point can be 2,000 pounds, is we watch you put your rig up and they're all 1-ton motors. I don't worry about it. You can't, you're not going to out, right? So that's kind of the mentality. Now, taking a step back on the Elite, some of those are going to be based on 1/2-ton motors on the Elite.
Yeah.
But that's the general concept.
So speaking of generalities about the stage, what is the actual weight of this tray?
When Paul started bugging me back in the day and saying we need to build something in this gap, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the problem was then, one of the biggest challenges was pickup trucks that you had available to you were rated, 26, 28,000 pound tow load, right? Maximum on a gooseneck, right? The pickup trucks that have been out since about 1920, right in that range, going post-COVID era, the hot shotters, the company, the freight guys, have become such a big industry, right? That the pickup truck people all kind of took a step forward. And everything now, like I'm a Ford guy, so I'll use the F-350 as an example, is like 36 or 37 or somewhere in that range.
And that's on a 350.
Yes.
Yeah, you go to,
and then you go to the dually, and then it's like 38. You go to the 450, it's like 40 or 42. It's up in that range. So now we have the ability, because the pickup truck market caught up with us on these, right?
That's Ford, GM, and Dodge. That's all.
Yeah, they're all three about the same.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So this trailer is going to end up weighing. We're projecting. I was shooting for 32. I'm going to miss that. It's going to end up being probably close to 34, right? So it will be able to be towed with a pickup. And it's the same story with anything. If you're doing local deliveries in flat land, you're not living. You're not going over Vail Pass in Colorado and all that. A 350 dually can tow this, right? Yeah. 450, that would be a good choice. But the big key here is this thing is set up to run on a semi or a pickup. It is the gap filler, as it is, as Thomas was talking about. It will do either one. Just switch out the shocker hitch and hook it to the other vehicle.
Now, one of the caveats is, in order to run this trailer weighing 34,000 pounds, the ball in your truck, whether it's 350, 450, 550, or whatever, is going to have to be a 3-inch ball, not a 2 and 5/16.
You got a 3-inch gooseneck ball because the 2 and 5/16 balls are only rated for 25,000 pounds.
But your truck is still set up for you just take out one ball and throw in the other, and you're good to go. Yeah.
Yes.
And likewise, like you just said, you should change out the insert on the shocker hitch to go from gooseneck to kingpin. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's pretty exciting.
And speaking of gooseneck, Paul,
Yes.
how exactly are we using a gooseneck to haul this massive stage and this weight capacity? Do you think Jay could expand upon that just a little bit?
Ooh. This, I know you're excited about this.
This one is one of those, I don't want to call it a silly little thing, but good grief, you can't believe the amount of money and effort was spent on this. We used finite element analysis via SolidWorks. The engineers had for the gooseneck part of this because the dynamic forces of that size trailer on a gooseneck, it was difficult. Okay, I'll put it that way. We tried to contract trailer manufacturers to build us a trailer that does this, and nobody wanted to get involved. So we spent an incredible amount of money. Had finite element analysis done on the whole gooseneck thing. The gooseneck is set up. Go back to the drawing for just a second. When you look at this, it's on a hydraulic ramp. If you look up under here, there's a hydraulic ram right there. So this gooseneck will move hydraulically, and it will rotate after you've parked. It will rotate down, and the shocker hitch. The geometry on this was really fun. The shocker hitch will clear the ground. It will not dig into the ground if your stage is set at 4 feet or higher. Right? It'll just barely skim the ground at 4 feet. Right? And then, best yet, from the edge of the floor right here out to the gooseneck, when it's folded down, is like 3'11" and a half or whatever. So when you put your decking around it, that gooseneck will fold up within the 4 foot measurement of a deck.
Yeah.
Going from here out this way.
And our swing down hitches and all the stages are actually pretty manageable, but you still need a couple people to do it safely. The fact that we're doing this, number one, on a hydraulic ram is pretty cool. But the other aspect of it is that we're taking it down and not sticking straight up in the air, straight out. I think that's pretty cool.
Okay, but the part behind the part behind the pivot right here will go up.
Yeah.
For that to go down.
Well, right.
Yeah, but I hear you. Yeah.
But when you think about it, that means you can get your tech cuts, your build outs much closer to the stage. You're only losing a little 4 foot space.
Right.
The roofs of it can get closer. You're not having to mess with this weird kingpin up in the air sticking out. I think this is pretty slick.
It is. And the Apex factory put an incredible. I can't give figures, but the bill to get that part designed and passed was quite something.
Well, I know there's it's kind of crazy because this stage is so cool. All of us have something about it that really gets us smiling and giggling, right? So the hitch is crazy for you. You're really excited about that. You're excited about the weight capacities, the loads, the whole video you can put up. But I think it's funny about the thing you were most excited about. This is a pretty big, heavy trailer. What's got you excited?
All right, well, you're right. I get a little weirded out on some certain things. This one would be is the brakes. I don't know about you guys, but we go through those electric brakes on our 324s just all the time. So in this new design, we discussed it with how much weight we were pulling, all that stuff. One of my big things was I need to stop. This thing has to stop. It's got to stop, and I can't use electric brakes and then lose them 5 miles down the road. Or, when Jay goes, hey, Caleb, let's just go to LDI and let's drive across the mountain. No big deal, right?
Yeah. And that's most important on the pickup aspect of this, right?
Well, actually, you have the same issue when it comes to the semi as well.
Okay.
But the big thing is these now have the hydraulic disc brakes.
Yeah.
And all 3 axles will be braking at the same time.
On all 3 axles,
on
that's
all
key.
3 axles, right? So you bring up a good point. Okay, let's talk about. Well, one of the big things is that Jay's right. The truck will pull it, right? But the truck weighs less than the trailer, and so it will push the truck. And we have the exact same thing when you turn to a semi. If you think about it, the weight of a semi is 13,000, 14,000 pounds. Okay, and then you have the weight of this. We're talking 34,000 pound trailer pushing it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the other issue is most people go, well, you could pull it with the semi, blah, blah, blah. The reason why you can't pull it is because of the tongue weight pushing down on your drive axles of your semi, right? Mm-hmm. Well, if it doesn't weigh enough, if you've ever drove a semi, it bounces.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop. But now with the hydraulic disc brakes, and you can either do a remote or you could do the Bluetooth system, right? Which we can go in more depth in later. Come talk to me. Love to talk about it. Right? Now we can hook it to our semi, right? Go down the road and brake efficiently. Stop efficiently.
With disc brakes.
With disc brakes
Yeah.
that are not going to fail you.
Yep, and just
That's
go into the weeds since we're in a little longer format here for folks. This is the electric sending impulse from a truck, from a braking controller, whatever source, going to essentially a master cylinder. This master cylinder is full of fluid, so it's getting that electric impulse. It's sending a master cylinder of brake fluid to a disc brake. So it's got a caliper on there, just like you would expect any other system. So it's technically electro over hydraulic disc
Correct.
brakes. So we've never had these on stages, so people are going to wonder what this really is. So
The other thing is and I know this kind of goes back to the other thing is, this is a feature that can be, you can go and purchase as an add-on or an upgrade. If you got to talk to Jeff, these can be put on your 324s, your 2424s, new units and old units.
yeah,
So
That's
very important to know that.
it really
Another
is.
one of those technologies that really the hot shop freight industry
Yeah,
really kind of forced that into play.
yeah. And this isn't. It's not super new technology, but it's certainly not old. Like, I know that when I was pushing on this idea, these brakes weren't available. So this is a relatively new thing. We're pretty excited to have it on our products.
Well, speaking of brakes and axles, as someone who pulls a stage and has to back them up and make very interesting turns and locations, we've talked about 3 axles.
Yeah.
Well, we all know, those of us that drive understand that possibly could cause some heartache in certain situations, except I believe we have a solution that Jay wants to talk about.
Yeah, those guys, basically, we're talking about a trailer that weighs 34,000 pounds, right? Axle capacity is a huge issue. We've all been running on previous stages and older stages, and you guys pack these things full of sound gear, lighting gear, whatever, and you end up running at like 80% capacity on the axles. Then you start having all these brake problems. And the trailer brakes, it's not on an apex. It's not. They're not good, right? So the big idea here was to go to triple axles, and they're all 15,000 pound axles with the disc brakes, right? So the trailer frame, is going to be a 40,000 is your limit, but the axle capacity is rated at 45. We're building in the margins needed for these things to not be a maintenance problem.
Nice.
Okay, now backing a triple axle trailer always causes damage to the tires when you have to jackknife, right? So the key here is the ability to get it to be a 2-axle trailer when you're pivoting or backing in or jackknifing. So we are going to put in a small hydraulic ram under the floor that will have a chain that comes down and around the front axle. And so if you find yourself in a place where you have to jackknife, you'll start the engine up and there'll be a little valve there, and a hydraulic valve, and you'll just go like this and it'll suck the front axle. Might not take it all the way off the ground, but it'll take all the pressure off of it.
Yeah.
And that way you can pivot and stuff without ripping the tread off your front axles.
That's pretty
I
awesome.
mean, you never have too many hydraulics.
No, apparently not. Obviously this is a pretty long trailer pulled by either a pickup or a semi. Do you envision it being triple axle being a much smoother ride? So wear and tear on the trailer
triple
itself?
axle they suck for backing and pivoting,
Yeah.
but going down the road they follow. They don't fishtail.
Yep.
I mean, it's a way better ride.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
so people who do put gear inside the trailer, and granted, if we're talking about a 40,000 pound capacity and we're running about 34, you still have room inside the trailer to put some stuff in there, but it's not like your gear's going to get beat to death and you're going to have PCB boards loose and faders coming off and lights. Yeah.
If all the math, because like I said, everybody should understand we're in the process of building it right
Yeah.
now. Okay, a lot of these things are estimates. They always are until you get the beta unit out and get it running. We're projecting a weight in the 34 range. We're saying the trailer is a 40,000 pound capacity, but even though the axles are set for 45, so we're projecting a cargo capacity of say somewhere between 4,000 to 6,000 pounds
Nice.
of ability to put stuff in it.
Nice.
So.
And we've got some, as we get closer, or people come talk to us at LDI, we've got some other tricks and layouts and things like that we're going to be able to talk about for what it looks like to build this out, pack it out some ways, and the ideas that we're all rolling around with on day cab, flatbeds, things like that. And I'm excited to be able to talk about that at the trade shows and as these ideas move forward. But I think this is a game changer for the industry. I think that we've built in so much flexibility with this product at a price point, at a rental point, at a feature set that nobody else can touch.
I want to agree, and I do want the moment to say, when and Jeff has sat through these meetings many times, right? When we do it, it's kind of like reverse engineering, kind of. It's a market-based decision, ROI. I mean, we're business owners. ROI has got to be the key here. We look at the market and we said, okay, what can a stage like this rent for? Okay, so let's say right now you buy a stage, you go out there, you can get, say $12,000 to $15,000 rental on a stage like that right now, because of the stages that you're competing against. Okay, but you got to show your clients this one's better. It's better. The client then says, I can hang more stuff. I can do this and that. And you say, you work your price up over a few years, where you can be up in probably in the high teens with this type of a stage, right? But you're gonna have to get out there and show the client it's better than the ones they're currently using.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if you say math-wise, okay, you should be able to do at least 10, maybe 12, 15 will be a good year. If you're going to be in the staging business, you're going to own a product like this. So then you basically take, a 4-year payback as your maximum. We don't want you to have to work more than 4 years to pay it off, right? So you take, let's say, 12 shows, 4 years, do the math, you should be able to pay this thing off. And then we go, okay, that's our budget line that we're hitting for the gap that Thomas wants filled and that you want filled, right? And then we go backwards and try to figure out how to make that product with the markup the factory needs to survive. And so I just think it's real important everybody needs to know that this stage was built with ROI in mind.
Yeah.
Price point, there's going to be 2 price points. That is all Jeff's department. That is something you're going to have to sit down and talk to him about. But there'll be a base model and then the model that's kind of a little more decked out with remote control and all that. That's the plan. But I think we've all pretty much decided it's going to be remote on all of them.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to have 2 different points.
Yeah.
That was the projection, but I think we're so excited about the Caleb's lazy remote that I think we're just going to make that a thing.
Yeah.
The size, the capacity, all that, almost half the cost of a Gen 3, it fills the gap.
Yeah.
It helps the owners grow, and it helps the promoters and the shows grow.
Yeah.
And it will have the same features that all of these new stages have, what we're calling Gen 3 technology. So like this slide-out beam that I'm assuming you guys have now seen in the picture through our editing, right? That's a beam you grab and you slide it out on little wheels, and you pin it. And this one will have to have the upright truss and the aircraft cable. Aren't shown here, but it'll have that. But it also means you can go do a basic show by just pulling that beam out like 3 feet, put a pin in it, hang PA there.
And like the 24s and the 32s, this also can be opened up on either side.
Oh,
it's got the slide-out beams on front and back.
That was a commandment, okay, from day one with Apex Stages. Which brought me to one of you guys was going to talk about banner pipes, right? We have gotten stages as Apex owners because our stages will face both ways.
Yeah.
There are times we get calls that they say, well, the other company or this company, whatever, their stage only goes in this direction. It won't fit there because there's a tree in the way. And so we get the job, right? All Apex stages are ambidextrous.
It's not true. 2016.
I don't count that.
He's never seen one.
Okay.
Ready and
So you're talking about the face both ways. That is for the Apex company, that's always been an issue. We try to make all the stages, not everything, but always face both ways. We actually have gotten jobs because of that, because the other company couldn't do it because there was a tree in the way.
Speaking about getting jobs because another company couldn't do it or another product couldn't do it, one of the things we really looked at, particularly on the 3224 Elite, but as well as this stage, is our banner system, or banner kit. We want to be able to, that is a massive footprint going 86 feet all the way across. But we might want to have a banner system that may have been designed for someone else's stage, or an existing set of banners that someone has. And obviously we can fit the width, but it's also about fitting the height of that banner system. And the new banner system, we're talking about the adjustment in it.
So the idea behind it, like you were just saying, was that we could go up different heights. So one of the cool features that we have essentially is you can literally put the banners in, very simple, put them in there, and then just adjust it by a pin. And like they're going to be a collapsible. We'll have a bar goes across. And the other thing that I'm really excited about is there'll also be a bar going on the bottom as well. So it allows you to get that banner snug and look tight.
Nice.
I mean, let's be honest. We've all seen the stages, and if they're bowing and they're flapping, it looks like you got trash flying in the wind.
Yeah.
But if it's nice and straight,
But just to clarify, we can do any length or height within reason. Within what is the height we can do?
oh, max height we can do is 5 feet, right? We haven't got it all the way down, but I'm guessing probably the lowest we'll do is like 2.5 feet.
Yeah.
Depending on exactly your pipe, I guess you could cut your pipe and go lower if you wanted to, right? But the idea behind that is about 2.5 to 5 feet.
Nice.
So no matter what stage or event within reason, we should be able to use previously created banners.
Correct.
And while this isn't particularly on the 4232, I mean, you really hit the nail on the head. It might as well be mentioned that this new system is also going to be designed so that you can take this idea and also put it on any of the previous stages that use the J pipes. We've made it so that we can upgrade people who don't want to use or want to change the way of doing banners to this new system, and it replaces your J pipes.
Correct. For your basic 3024 basics and 2424 basic units. So
no stage is left behind. That's the second commandment of Apex.
Yeah.
The first is thou shalt not build a single directional stage.
Well,
Almost.
2016, come on. It goes by 2016.
We don't talk about
We'll talk about
no, but I, you guys, we hit it on the head. Like the idea is, this is what we're talking about. Our clients say they need this. The promoters say they need that. Here we are. We're delivering these things that are issues. Again, that way your return on investment pays off.
And the way we're looking at this, based on the setup time and the strike time on all the Gen3 series, based on 3224s projected on Elite, this is going to set up pretty fast.
yeah.
Like this really should set up fast, right?
I mean, I did estimate the stage by itself. We haven't built one, obviously, but knowing off what everything else we got, I bet we can have it up in 3 to 4 hours, easy.
Nice. And that's complete. That's everything. That's all.
Complete and everything.
Man, that's incredible.
I mean, it's worth noting, right? We obviously have the 5040 Gen 3, right? Granted, I have a crew of guys they're great, A-level guys. Matt, Landon, Josh. They can take a 5040 Gen 3, go to full beast mode with 120 decks in almost any configuration you want. 2 tech huts that are 37 feet long by 37 by 17, 12 foot tall underneath them. And they can have that thing built within 8 hours.
Jeez.
With 16 to 20 hands.
So how many people are we projecting this stage as it sits, without tech huts, without decks, just the stage itself? How many people are expecting?
My brain says if you had between 4 and 6 hands, 2 of your guys, 3 to 6 hours max.
So you're talking about
No,
one
you
week?
said with no decks or anything.
No decks?
No decks
Just
or anything.
stage?
You're talking
Just stay. Okay.
Yeah.
just
yeah.
a stage. It's not an hour and a half.
I'm gonna say,
Yeah, I apologize. Yes, you're right.
2
Correct.
qualified techs, I'd say an hour. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
more I'm looking at this, and based on how we've done all of our other technologies and what this is looking like, I mean, granted, nobody wants to do this with 2 guys, but you can in basic mode without having anything crazy on there.
You can build a 5040 Gen 3 with 2 guys.
It's
It's
incredible.
gonna take a while.
It's going to take a minute. Yeah, but there is nothing on there that you cannot build with 2 guys.
So Jay, what are the corner towers on this one?
Corner towers are 12-inch standard truss.
Nice.
Uh,
And there's a hinge in there, right?
Yep, it's
Yep.
all hinged. Everything. Well, the 32 Elite now goes to 12, and so does this. So does the Gen 3 4240. When you're talking about weight capacities, at this height, a 12-inch tower, which we contract through Applied, they provide us with the towers, and that tower is rated at a 30-foot length on the 4240 Gen 3, 17,000 pound down pressure. Right, so we're going to be at a 23-foot length, so that it'll be up in mid, 25,000 pound down pressure. So again, 4 conductor towers, 20,000 pounds apiece, mass columns, 40,000 pounds apiece. I mean, the weight capacity on this thing is
Yeah.
I mean, what it's able to handle will be quite something.
Quite impressive, that's for sure.
What I really appreciate is that Apex listens.
Yeah.
They don't just dictate a product, they get the feedback. And the owners have gotten together as a collective, and we have worked together. And I can't wait to LDI where we can share stories, show off these great new products, learn more stories, and get that true interaction and feedback that makes this whole game called mobile staging fun.
And that's, that's why we need them to come. We need all the owners to come. We need you guys to come look at this. Come talk to us. I mean, that's what helps us. I mean, you know, and some of you guys have great and amazing ideas, and we've incorporated parts and pieces.
Yeah. So everyone's going to get to see the stage at LDI. They're also going to get to see it at the Mobile Stage Conference out in February. There's going to be 2 other trade shows that we're going to be talking about that these stages will be at as well later in the future. And then this beta stage, this prototype, is going to be available while you're running it, while Stage Pro is running it for the first several months. And then while at LDI, people are going to be able to talk to Jay, Jeff, myself about when they can get in queue to get this thing rolling and when we should expect having it in the production line. But the point is, if somebody wants this full rental to try it out at their event, they can give you a call and get this beta test at their event.
Absolutely. The one more thing I'd like to add before we kind of wrap this kind of stuff up is we've talked about a couple different things that are going to be at the trade show. We have not gotten into all of the things. We only hit some of the major bullet points. Guys,
You mean I can't post about that either?
Those of you who are watching, we went probably for 4 or 5 hours and we went through bullet points and we knocked a bunch down just so we could get to these talking points.
Yeah.
I don't want to give it away. Paul and I kind of did a couple things earlier, but hey, I'm just saying some of these stages we're talking about getting them high. Now we're talking about getting some stages low.
Ooh.
So
Yeah.
you gotta come out. There's a lot of cool things happening.
Can I post it? Can I post it? Can I post it now? Can I post it? Can I post it?
Do not need to get the duct tape out again.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.